Before any temple was built or any empire was named, the Holy Land was already accumulating ruins. Every hill hides a buried story. Every valley holds the echoes of peoples who believed they were eternal. This is not just a sacred map. It is a vast field of debris from the ancient world. Civilizations were born here, prospered, warred, and disappeared. Where we now see silence and dust, archaeologists find entire cities buried by time. In this documentary, we will unearth 8 of these lost cities. We will rebuild their days of glory, reveal the forces that destroyed them, and show what remains of them in the present. Some survived in fragments, others disappeared almost completely, and there are those whose stories are so violent they seem more like legends, until the earth proves otherwise. Around 1400 BC, one of these cities was not just inhabited, it was practically impregnable. Built on a tell, an artificial mound formed by successive cycles of destruction and reconstruction, it covered about 3 hectares at the top of a strategic hill. Even before the biblical period, that same soil had been raised and raised about 20 times. Beneath the streets associated with the time of Joshua, archaeologists discovered layers that record more than 11,000 years of human occupation. There stands a stone tower dating back to around 8,500 BC, considered one of the oldest monumental structures ever identified by archaeology. Jericho did not learn to survive by chance. War was part of its history. Within its walls, the city functioned like a well-oiled machine. Mud brick houses, paved streets, deep cisterns, granaries full of grain. The Spring of Elisha, which still exists, provided a constant supply of fresh water. Traders crossed its gates bringing spices from the east, textiles from the north, and metals from the south. The city controlled access to the Jordan Valley. Anyone who wanted to ascend to the mountains of Canaan had to pass through Jericho and pay the price. But the true symbol of its power was its defenses. Jericho did not rely on a single wall, but on a double system, an outer stone wall about 3.5 meters high, and behind it, another even taller one. Between them, corridors allowed soldiers to move. The base was so thick that houses were built inside the defensive structure itself. Rahab, the woman who helped the Israelite spies, lived in one of those houses, with a window facing out of the city. Today, Tel es-Sultan is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. As you walk through it, you see layers of 11,000 years of civilizations stacked on top of each other. The ancient stone tower still looms. The remains of the walls still defy time. And a thought arises almost inevitably. This city resisted for millennia, until it fell with a cry. Jericho fell supernaturally, but the next city did not fall with a sound. It was burned from the sky. And to this day, the earth holds melted ceramics scattered across the ground. For decades, archaeologists and historians traversed deserts, plains, and valleys in search of Sodom and Gomorrah. For many modern scholars, these cities were nothing more than moral symbols, ancient legends created to teach lessons through fear. However, in 2013, a discovery changed the tone of that debate. Near the Dead Sea, an international team identified an archaeological site that would raise uncomfortable questions: Tall el-Hammam. As the excavations advanced, it became clear that there were marks of a destruction that did not fit common wars or gradual collapses. The revealed city was anything but insignificant. Located on a fertile plain, supplied with abundant water, and positioned on a strategic trade route, Tall el-Hammam prospered for centuries. It is estimated that between 8,000 and 10,000 people lived there, a true metropolis for the Bronze Age. Thick walls protected the city. Palaces and temples indicated political organization, economic power, and regional influence. Sodom, it seems, was not a village forgotten by time. It was a dominant urban center. But according to the biblical text, Sodom's problem was never poverty or scarcity. It was excess. A society shaped by pride, arrogance, and a corruption so deep that according to Genesis, it crossed any tolerable limit. The account states that faced with this, God decided to intervene directly in human history. Then came the judgment. Fire and sulfur fell from the sky. The destruction was swift, total, and irreversible. In a single day, the city ceased to exist. Lot and his family fled in a hurry, and when Lot's wife looked back, disobeying the order, she became a pillar of salt. It seems like a movie scene, but the earth, unlike myths, holds marks that do not fade with time. At Tall El Hammam, archaeologists found evidence of an explosion that occurred about 3,700 years ago. Temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius, ceramics vitrified, turned into glass, clay bricks that literally exploded under extreme heat. And something even more disturbing, thick layers of salt spread across the soil in sufficient quantity to make it sterile for 6 to 7 centuries. Nothing grew there. The place died along with the city. The hypotheses vary: meteorite impact, an airburst similar to Tunguska, a violent release of gases. The scientific debate continues, but the fact remains: something devastated that city brutally, leaving permanent physical scars right in the region where the Bible locates Sodom. Today, Tal El Hammam is an open archaeological site. The layers of destruction remain exposed. The melted ceramic is still there, frozen in time, a silent witness to a day when the sky seemed to catch fire. Sodom was burned from the sky, but the next city would be burned from the ground, and Joshua made sure it was the only one completely destroyed among all the cities of Canaan. Why? Because it was the capital. Because it concentrated power. Because it had about 40,000 inhabitants. Hazor was not a common city. It was a metropolis of the ancient world. For comparison, Jerusalem, in the days of David, centuries later, had fewer people than that. At its peak, Hazor covered about 80 hectares in the upper city and another 70 in the lower city. Massive stone walls surrounded the entire complex. Within them, palaces with columns, temples dedicated to Baal and Astarte, bronze workshops, granaries full of grain, paved streets, public fountains distributing water. Traders from Syria, Egypt, and Cyprus negotiated in the central square. Hazor controlled the trade routes of the north. Anyone who wanted to head towards Mesopotamia had to pass through there and pay tolls. But Hazor was not just wealth. It was military command. Its king led a confederation of city-states. When Joshua entered Canaan, it was the king of Hazor who organized the resistance. He gathered the other kings, concentrated the armies, and camped by the waters of Merom. It was the largest military force the Israelites had faced up to that point: chariots, cavalry, heavy infantry. Joshua won. But here is the crucial detail. Of all the conquered cities, only Hazor was completely burned. The others were preserved for occupation. Hazor had to become an example. Between 1955 and 1958, Yigael Yadin excavated the site. Later, new excavations in the 1960s revealed 21 layers of human occupation. But one layer stands out: thick ashes, collapsed structures, all dated by carbon-14 to around 1200 BC, exactly the period attributed to Joshua. In 2012, Amnon Bentor's team found jars full of carbonized wheat. The grain was stored, ready for use. The city fell quickly. There was no evacuation. It was devastating. Later excavations also revealed a monumental water system, a tunnel that descends 40 meters to the water table, expanded centuries later by King Ahab, as well as a basalt staircase 4.5 meters wide that led to the royal palace. Today, Hazor is a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2005, along with Megiddo and Beersheba. It is 14 kilometers north of the Sea of Galilee. You walk through it and see walls, palace foundations, the monumental staircase. The jars with burnt wheat are in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. But no one lives there. The greatest city of Canaan turned to dust. Joshua burned the capital of Canaan, but there was a city that Jesus cursed, and it was not just any city. It was the place where he lived, where he performed more miracles than anywhere else on the map. And what if the place where you performed the most miracles was, at the same time, the place you decided to curse? This question echoes when we look at Capernaum, a living, prosperous, bustling city, full of apparent faith, but empty of repentance. Located on the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee, Capernaum occupied a strategic position. The Via Maris, the great trade route that linked Egypt to Syria, passed right in front of its gates. Caravans stopped there to rest, trade, and resupply. There was a Roman customs post where Matthew collected taxes. Boats left every morning and returned with nets full of fish. The market buzzed with bread, olive oil, pottery, and textiles. With about 15,000 inhabitants, it was a medium-sized city, but economically comfortable. At the center of it all was the synagogue, built of black basalt, with sturdy pillars supporting the roof. It was the spiritual heart of the city. Every Sabbath, men gathered to read the Torah, debate the law, and pray. And it was right there that Jesus began to teach. The Gospel of Matthew calls Capernaum his own city. He didn't just pass through, he lived there. Peter, James, John, and Andrew had houses in Capernaum. After his travels, Jesus returned there. And it was there that more miracles happened than anywhere else. The centurion's servant was healed from a distance. Peter's mother-in-law was freed from fever. A paralytic was lowered through the roof because the house was too full, and Jesus healed him in front of everyone. Demons were expelled. Storms were calmed. The whole city saw. But seeing did not mean believing. The miracles became a spectacle. People watched, listened, but did not repent. Then Jesus did something unprecedented. He cursed the city where he lived. In Matthew 11, he declared that Capernaum would go down to hell, and that if Sodom had seen what Capernaum saw, it would still exist. The curse was fulfilled slowly. After the 6th century, Capernaum was gradually abandoned. In 1894, the Franciscans acquired the land and began excavations. Between 1968 and 1985, Virgilio Corbo and Stanislao Lofreda identified Peter's house beneath a 5th century Byzantine octagonal church. The white limestone synagogue visible today was built on the foundations of the 1st century basalt synagogue, exactly where Jesus taught. Coins and mortar confirm the dates. Today, Capernaum is administered by the custodians of the Holy Land, silent ruins of a city that saw the Son of God and rejected him. Capernaum rejected Jesus. But the next city was not cursed by him. It was prophesied about 600 years earlier to be abandoned, and today, literally, no one lives there. At its peak, Ashkelon had about 13,000 inhabitants. Built on the seashore, it had a natural protected harbor. Ships from Cyprus, Greece, and Egypt docked there daily. Within giant walls, up to 15 meters high and 50 meters wide at the base, life pulsed. Markets sold Tyrian purple, Athenian marble, Egyptian grain. Temples dedicated to Dagon and Baal-zebub dominated the center. Palaces with gardens occupied the noble part of the city. The Philistines were never primitive or barbaric peoples, as is often imagined. They possessed sophisticated culture, planned architecture, advanced metallurgy, and a vibrant urban life. Ashkelon was proof of this. But in the eyes of Israel's prophets, something was deeply wrong there. The problem was not military nor economic, it was spiritual. Ashkelon represented everything Israel should not be. Idols dominated its temples, rituals considered abominable were part of its religious life. For this reason, generation after generation, the prophets announced judgment. Amos, Zephaniah, Jeremiah, all spoke against Ashkelon. But it was Zechariah who made the most direct declaration: Ashkelon will be abandoned. In 604 BC, Nebuchadnezzar II, king of Babylon, invaded the region. Ashkelon tried to resist. It closed its gates, reinforced its walls, stocked food. It was not enough. The Babylonian army broke through the defenses, killed the king, and deported the population. The city fell. And here is the impressive detail. Ashkelon was even rebuilt afterward. Greeks occupied it, Romans occupied it, Byzantines occupied it. but it never returned to what it was. Over time, it was gradually abandoned. In 1191, Richard the Lionheart destroyed what remained to prevent the port from being used by Muslim forces. After that, no one rebuilt it. Today, Ashkelon is a national park. Archaeologists found there the first Philistine cemetery ever discovered, with 145 skeletons, statuettes, painted ceramics, gold jewelry, vestiges of a rich culture. But there are no residents. The prophecy was fulfilled, and the next city was not abandoned slowly. It faced the worst military siege of antiquity, and the enemies themselves recorded everything in stone. The Assyrians built a ramp of about 3 million stones to destroy this city, and they immortalized the feat in reliefs 27 meters long. Lachish was the second most important city of Judah, second only to Jerusalem. Built on a strategic hill, it controlled the route between the coastal plain and the mountains of Judea. Anyone who wanted to attack Jerusalem from the west had to pass through Lachish. That is why King Rehoboam heavily fortified the place. Double walls surrounded the city, the outer one 6 meters thick, the inner one 4. Watchtowers covered all angles. A monumental gate with 6 chambers controlled the entrance. Inside, limestone houses, workshops, storerooms, and cisterns supplied a population of about 6,000 people. But in 701 BC, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, invaded Judah. He had already conquered 46 cities and deported more than 200,000 people. Now he wanted Lachish, and he wanted the world to know. The siege was meticulous and brutal. The ramp is still there, a colossal structure made of millions of stones, each carried by hand by Assyrian soldiers. As the ramp rose, archers shot arrows to keep the defenders at bay. Siege towers advanced, battering rams struck the walls. Inside the city, chaos. Excavations revealed layers of ash up to 6 meters thick, arrowheads embedded in the walls, skeletons of people killed while trying to flee. A mass grave with more than 1,500 bodies thrown in without any ceremony. Lachish fell, and Sennacherib was so proud that he had the victory recorded in monumental reliefs. Today, these scenes are in the British Museum, soldiers advancing, prisoners impaled, families being deported. It is the most detailed visual account of an ancient siege that we possess. Lachish was rebuilt afterward, but it never regained its importance. Today it is just a tell, an archaeological mound. You climb up there, see the preserved ramp, the broken walls, and imagine the terror. Lachish suffered the worst military siege, but the next capital faced something even more devastating: famine. A famine so extreme that it destroyed human sanity, a famine that led to the unthinkable, a mother cooking her own son. And this happened in Samaria, the capital of the northern kingdom of Israel. Samaria was not an ordinary city. It was rich, extremely rich. Around 880 BC, King Omri chose a strategic hill and decided to build the capital from scratch. It was not about renovating an ancient city, but about a planned urban project. The hill rose about 90 meters above the valley, offering a complete view of the surrounding region. Double walls of white limestone reflected the sun from a distance, a visible symbol of power and security. The palace of Ahab, Omri's son, was the height of luxury. Its walls were decorated with carved ivory panels, not paint, not imitation, but real ivory imported from Africa. Entire panels covered the rooms, which is why the Bible calls the building the Ivory House in 1 Kings 22. Inside the city, life flowed in abundance. Rock-hewn cisterns ensured water, even during long droughts. Warehouses accumulated wine, olive oil, and grain. The market sold Tyrian purple, Arabian spices, Egyptian jewelry. It is estimated that Samaria housed about 30,000 inhabitants. It was not just the political capital. It was the ultimate symbol of prosperity for the northern kingdom. But in 725 BC, King Hoshea made a fatal mistake. He stopped paying tribute to Assyria. Shalmaneser V responded as the Assyrians always did, with cruel patience. The army besieged Samaria and did not attack the walls. It simply cut off access. Nothing went in, nothing went out, and they waited. The first year consumed the supplies. In the second, the animals were sacrificed. In the third, nothing was left. It was then that the horror recorded in 2 Kings chapter 6 occurred. 2 women made an unthinkable agreement. They cooked one woman's son. The next day, when it was the other's turn to fulfill the pact, she hid the child. In 722 BC, the walls finally fell. Sargon II, who had taken the Assyrian throne, entered the city and deported 27,290 people. Modern excavations confirmed that the ivory palace described in the Bible was exactly on that hill. Original fragments of the panels were found and are now preserved in museums in Jerusalem. The hill, today called Sebastia, is no longer inhabited. It has become a major archaeological site where ruins of the palace, walls and ancient temples can still be seen. Samaria died of famine. But the next city is different. It did not die once. It died 26 times. And according to prophecy, it will die again in the final battle of history. There is a place in the Holy Land where 26 battles have already taken place. Megiddo, or Armageddon in Greek. Megiddo occupies a position that any general would dream of controlling. The Tell, an archaeological mound about 20 meters high, dominates the Jezreel Valley. From the top, one can see kilometers of plain in all directions. The Via Maris, the most important commercial road of the ancient world, passed right there. Egyptian armies marching toward Mesopotamia had to cross Megiddo. Mesopotamian armies descending toward Egypt also did. There was no detour. Whoever controlled Megiddo controlled the military and commercial traffic of the entire region. That is why 26 different civilizations occupied the same place. Canaanites built, Egyptians destroyed and rebuilt, Israelites conquered, Philistines attacked, Assyrians razed, Persians occupied, Greeks took, Romans dominated. Each empire built its city upon the ruins of the previous one. Layer upon layer, century after century, forming an artificial mound literally made of stacked dead cities. Solomon transformed Megiddo into one of the greatest fortresses of his kingdom. Understanding the strategic value of that point, he reinforced the city with thick walls, built extensive stables capable of housing about 450 horses, and had an impressive water system constructed, carved into the rock, that descended approximately 40 meters to the water table. Thus, even under siege, Megiddo could survive. The city's main gate had 6 chambers, identical to those found in Hazor and Gaza. The same architect, the same design, the same defensive pattern. Megiddo was not an isolated outpost, but part of a national defense system, and precisely for that reason, it was always at the center of conflicts. In 609 BC, Pharaoh Necho II of Egypt was marching north to support Assyria against the advance of Babylon. His objective was not Judah, just to pass through the region. King Josiah, however, decided to block the passage at Megiddo. It was a costly mistake. Necho tried to avoid confrontation, but Josiah insisted. The battle was brief and tragic. An arrow struck the king of Judah, who died on his way to Jerusalem. The most just ruler of his generation fell defending a strategic corridor that has always attracted wars. Centuries later, in 1799, Napoleon Bonaparte passed through Megiddo during his campaign in the east. Observing the terrain, he called the place the perfect battlefield. He knew how to recognize military geography. The Jezreel plain is wide, flat, offers total visibility, and constant access to water. It accommodates entire armies in motion. That is why the book of Revelation points to this very place as the setting for the final battle of history. Har Megiddo in Hebrew, Armageddon in Greek. The mountain where, according to prophecy, the armies of the world will gather at the end of time. Today, Megiddo is a national park and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, alongside Hazor and Beersheba. As you climb the Tell, the visitor clearly sees the 26 layers of destruction accumulated over millennia. You see the stables attributed to Solomon, the six-chambered gate, the rock-carved water system. And then you look out at the silent, empty plain, imagining how many times that ground has already been watered with blood, and thinking about the prophecy that still points to the future. See you soon.